Thank you, Jens. Yeah, thank you very much. Very happy to be here. And yeah, Mattia, I think it was a very personal story, and that's one of the toughest thing to do. Sometimes we have a very fast-paced environment. We've got our head in the handlebar, and it's important to take a step back and reflect on on who we are and how we can be ourselves. Because in the long term, only if we're ourselves and we're happy, we're gonna be performing. So really enjoy that. And yeah, I wanted to focus that talk on the mindset and just share some of the experience and principle that I've believe made me successful. As James mentioned, I was lucky to start my career at App Dynamics, which was rocket ship and a very fast accelerator, a great school to learn those skills. So, and I actually almost got fired, in the first 2 months when I joined AppD. So I joined as a BDR in July, August. It was the quiet summer months. I was finishing my master thesis and thought I had time to learn the theory. Was very curious about everyone, about the tech, and within those 2 months, I got a call from my manager at the time, and she told me I received a calendar invitation, and within 3 weeks, I was going to meet with the VP of EMEA, and it was much better for me if this meeting didn't happen. So I changed the strategy and started executing a hell lot and cold calling all those prospects. I was working with a wonderful team in France of account executives, was working daily with them, hitting the phone, and managed to escape from that and be successful at the time. And that really taught me that we won't always have time to learn how to walk in those environments, and you're asked to run straight away. And more than just having to embrace those uncomfortable moments, there's always going to be a lot of pressure and a lot of distraction. So I think one of the first point is really focus on your objectives. When you're a BDR and SDR, you're solely measured on the number of meetings you deliver. When you're an account executive, on the quota. So really focus on that, on executing, and especially when you begin as a BDR. I'd say you've got a 12 months roughly expiration date as the product on the shelf of a supermarket, because you're gonna get bored, or the motivation is gonna take a hit, and it's normal because every single week you're restarting again from scratch, from zero, and you need to deliver those meetings. And the more time passes, the more frustrated you can be with just wanting to pursue and continue those opportunities. So really focus those first 6 to 9 months to execute, and then put the plan in place for the transition, and make sure that you don't have to change companies or go elsewhere and restart again from scratch. So really, the earlier that you start owning your that pressure and be very demanding with yourself, that's gonna go a very long way, because you won't be depending on your managers or someone else to put pressure on you. You won't have uncomfortable QBRs. You can really set up your own standards, and ensure you have the discipline to execute, and then you'll be autonomous. And I think it's one very important principle I'm always following. And as I said earlier on, it's you have to adapt to uncomfortable situation. And one thing I also learned, the hard way sometimes, is it's okay to have unlogical or unfair situation, because it might seem unfair to you, but what is fair? All right, it's those companies are not democracy. They put meritocracy in place, but anything can happen, right? People who put the rules, they can change the rules whenever they want. So really focus on, again, what you can control, and if things are changing, really choose your battle wisely, and don't fight for nothing, right? Always take a step back, see the big picture, what is important to focus your efforts on, your energy. I'm sure we all have examples in mind of colleagues, they change their territories, they change something, and then you start spiraling negatively, and it's definitely not going toward the right direction. So again, choose your battle wisely, because ultimately it's also a patience game, right? I know it's funny because the talk is called from BDR to AE in 3 years, but ultimately, what is 6 months? What is 12 months at the scale of a sales career, right? Surely we have other projects as well, but 6 months and 12 months is really not much. So I try to apply this myself. Like I got promoted to enterprise rep in my previous company and accepted to go back to commercial in that new company currently, as it was the go-to-market strategy. I was the first man on the ground, and I worked my way back up to enterprise. So again, always think that 6 months and 12 months, it is not the end of the world. So it's a good balance between being ambitious and also being patient. And one important point, because I'm giving all those advice. I know it's very fast-paced environment, very process-driven. You know, those Medic 3 Wise company, all the different tools that you have at your disposal. You need to focus on. It's really okay not to be 100% all the time. That's again, back to the patience thing. We're not machines, and we cannot be 1,000% all the time. So there's moments where we're gonna have a lack of motivation, lack of energy, and it's okay. And it's okay to embrace those moments, try to understand why, take a step back, and go back and accelerate. Because if you try to go all the time at 100%, eventually, something that happened to me in my previous company, I had a little burnout. I was out of the business for 1 month. And I learned my limits, emotionally and physically, and we all have different ones. So for sure, you'll have that colleague or that manager who's at 1,000%, never stopping. We're all different, and it's okay. So really try to discover doubt without pushing too much, because it's always going to be a roller coaster. That's the thing with sales. There are weeks where it's working, and even within the same day, sometimes you have a good morning and terrible afternoon. With sales opportunities, the same. When you have 6 months, 9 months, 1 year sales cycle, it's very long. There's always ups and downs. So make sure that the highs are not too highs and the lows not too lows. And it's just, again, back to that, taking a step back, seeing the big picture. Be careful with this, and manage your emotion. And the last thing I wanted to mention is, and it's very much in line with the two previous talks that we just had, is ultimately, don't fall in the trap of following someone else's footsteps or being formatted by a process. The moment when you're going to build the strongest relationships, externally with prospect, but also internally within the companies. And if you want to progress quickly, internal champions are absolutely critical. So be yourself. Find out how you can adapt in that world with your own personality, what works, and just follow your own, create your own footsteps, without becoming too much of a machine.